Welcome to my channel, and if you are visiting for the first time, you are highly welcome. Let's look at intraperitoneal versus retroperitoneal organs. There are two basic establishments or relationship that could occur between organs and also peritoneum, and that is what this lecture will be unfolding. We know that peritoneum is a serous membrane that is seen to line organs and also the interiors of cavities. So let's look at the differences between intraperitoneal organs and retroperitoneal organs. So organs can either be of intraperitoneal presentation or retroperitoneal presentation. For intraperitoneal presentation, from the name intra, it means that the organ is completely embedded within the peritoneum. And this means that the entire surface of the organ is lined by peritoneum. So let's take the organ as this image. Let's say this is the viscera or the organ highlighted in yellow. And peritoneum will be seen to line the entire surface of this organ in this form of presentation. So you see the peritoneum highlighted in red, and you see that this peritoneum is seen to line the entire surface of this organ. And when it does this, you see that at a particular end, there's going to be the union at both ends, and this will run a short course to become the mesentery. So you see the establishment of mesentery in intraperitoneal organs. And this mesentery is what is seen to be connected to the body wall. And we say that intraperitoneal organs are mobile. They are mobile because the mesentery allows for this grade of movement. As this mesentery is formed and is used to taping the organ to the body wall, you see that movement can be exhibited by the organ. Also to add that the grade of movement that would be exhibited by this organ depends on the length of the mesentery that is formed. So the longer the length, the higher the grade of movement. So for shorter mesentery, it means the organ will not be able to move as much as what will be seen in organs with a longer mesentery. Also, the establishment of mesentery creates a conduit or pathway for blood vessels to reach this organ. Apart from taping the organs to body wall, it also helps to create allowance through which blood vessels will be able to reach this organ. So for retroperitoneal organs, the peritoneum is seen to line just one surface of the organs, not the entire surface as seen in intraperitoneal organ. So for retroperitoneal organ, let's say this is the organ also highlighted in yellow. You now see the peritoneum highlighted in red, running through just one surface of this organ. And as this is established, you see that this peritoneum is helping to hold this organ in place. Let's say this is the organ and you have the peritoneum covering it. So it will help to keep it in place or keep it in position. So in this kind of presentation, you see that it helps to hold the organ in place. And that is why we say that retroperitoneal organs are not mobile. They cannot be mobile because of this establishment that is created between the peritoneum and also the organ. An example of organs that are seen to be intraperitoneal include the liver. We have the gallbladder, which is also seen to be located close to the liver. Then we have the spleen, we have the stomach. Then we also have some organs that they are not entirely either intraperitoneal or retroperitoneal. So you have a region of this organ or some regions of these organs that are intraperitoneal, while the others are retroperitoneal. For the small intestine, the jejunum and the ileum are seen to be intraperitoneum, and that is why you see the mesentery of the small intestine that is connected to the posterior abdominal wall. Then the other organs that you have is the pancreas. For the pancreas, it is just the tail region of the pancreas that is intraperitoneal. And we know that the pancreas has a head, it has a neck, and it also has a body. But for the pancreas, it's just the tail that seems to be of intraperitoneal presentation. Also, we have the initial segment of the small intestine, which is the duodenum. For the duodenum, it is just the initial 2 centimeters that is of intraperitoneal presentation, while the remaining region of the duodenum is of retroperitoneal presentation. So for initial 2 centimeters, which is the duodenal cap, is seen to be intraperitoneal. And we also have the large intestine. For the large intestine also, it is not the entire large intestine that is of intraperitoneal presentation. The subregions of the large intestine that are of intraperitoneal presentation include the cecum, the appendix, the transverse colon, and also the sigmoid colon. So let's go further to examples of organs that fall under retroperitoneal presentation. And this include the kidney. The two kidneys are retroperitoneal organs, which means that they are held in place to the posterior abdominal wall by the peritoneum. So you just see the anterior surface of these organs being covered by peritoneum. Then we have the associated adrenal gland, which is seen at the superior part of the kidney. Then the other organs include the ureter, which is the extension that carries urine from the kidney. Then we have the pancreas. Remember, we'll talk about organs not being entirely either retro or intraperitoneal organs. We said that the tail region of the pancreas is intraperitoneal. That means the head, the neck, and the body of the pancreas will be of retroperitoneal presentation. Then also the duodenum. We also said that the initial 2 centimeter, which is the duodenal cap, is of intraperitoneal presentation, while the remaining region of the duodenum are of retroperitoneal presentation. Then the large intestine. So the ascending and the descending colon are of retroperitoneal presentation. You can see that in this organ, some of the regions are intraperitoneal presentation, while the other are retroperitoneal presentation. It's also good for us to note this as students of anatomy. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you find this very useful. Thank you. Bye.